Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to another Integration Quest MuleSoft study group. We're here live today with Edgar Moran. I thank him so much for being here. I've already had a sneak peek to what he's going to be presenting on, and it's looking great. So thank you for joining us, and I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed. So thank you for joining us. I'm going to go through a couple slides really quick and just do as we do. Then I'll turn it over to him. So everybody's been doing great with the Integration Quest the code of conduct. Everybody's been doing awesome, and we appreciate that. So just keep on doing what you know is right. We have a couple links here just in case anybody doesn't know. I got a notification that Suma isn't going to be here today. Suma, we miss you, but she said that she's going to catch it on the recording. So that's why I like to share this link here, just in case nobody knows. Get over there, subscribe. This is a library of knowledge. All of these videos that we do, this live video is going to be on there. So Suma and anybody else can check this out later. So if you don't make it to the live session, you can catch it in the recording. And there's plenty of other archive videos out there that may help you. So check it out. We just love helping people. As I always say, drop a comment if it helps you, if it did anything for you, or if you have recommendations for the future. We love feedback. We love knowing what is trending. What do you need to know about that we can help you with? So that's awesome. And I'll move right on past that. I just like to hammer that down. Like I said, we've got Edgar here today, and he's been doing this for quite a while. He has definitely put in a lot of time and expertise in this field and done a lot of things. But as I'm always saying, it's not just about the training and all the things that he's acquired and all those certificates. It's the fact that he's willing to come here and share with us today. And we really appreciate that. We really are passionate to share everything that we can. We're all learning, and we're learning together now, and that's what we are here for, and we appreciate Edgar being here. So help me to just give him a warm welcome. I'm going to stop sharing so he can do the very thing that I just said.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, RG, and thank you, Ryan, for inviting me. Honestly, I think and watching all the record videos and people that is joining, it really motivates me just to move forward to this presentation. It's really great to see how you guys are sharing all this content, and yeah, I want to do my share too. So,
definitely, yeah, you're gonna do great. I'll let you know if anybody has any questions in the chat, so that way it can just be like an interaction. That way everybody is still awake and not sleeping. So you just go ahead and share whenever you're ready. I'll let you know how your screen's looking at if I can, or if I see the presentation.
let me do it now, and you guys let me know you can see my screen.
I see you. Looking good. And sound is really good too. That's a really good microphone. You sound great. All right, go ahead.
All right, perfect. So thank you so much. Yeah, and welcome everybody. So I know this is kind of trending topic around all the tech communities. And whenever we speak about AI, probably the first concept that comes to our minds is MCP servers. And basically, the idea here is we everybody are being working on MCPs, trying to connect MCPs just to make everything easier in our workflow. Something that is happening on many companies right now is we are trying to use more AI in our companies. Basically, companies are asking us to use AI. My company specifically asked for us to start using it more and more. So trying to be more productive, finding ways to improve our workflows, be more productive. It can be everything. But in the end, we need to think about how these tools are going to make us our life easier. So yeah, what I'm going to try to talk about today is we know there's a lot of MCP servers out there, and we know this is continue evolving, and it's a continuous improvement in terms of how we can secure these MCPs, right? Initially, when we started building MCPs, I think the easiest way was just I'm gonna just publish my my MCP in one server and make sure that I'm able to hit it using my LLM. And then that happened, right? Like we were able to just ask Cursor, ask Claude, or any other agent and say, hey, just connect to this MCP, bring me the data that I need, and do something else, right? Like maybe you present this information in a certain way, give me a recommendation, analyze the information, and so on. And little by little they were growing and continue evolving, that at some point we have to think about security, right? And that's why also MuleSoft at some point started like getting the Flex Gateway and managed Flex Gateway in place. Just us as engineers can kind of put that behind the gateway actually, and say, well, let's implement some policies, let's try to put some authentication. But I think at some point it was getting a little bit confused. And also, to be honest, I feel, and this is a personal opinion, things are moving really, really fast lately in terms of evolution of AI, new forms to connect and authenticate and everything, that it's kind of hard to keep up. So what I'm going to show you, maybe you guys already know, but this is what I'm what I'm at right now. So I'm gonna show you a little bit of some slides, and then I'm gonna jump into a little demonstration, just how I have a little MCP connected and how we can use these ways of connecting and securing them. All right. So yeah. So in order to connect these MCP servers, right? So the way that I'm going to do it, or I'm going to use it, is two ways. One is using OAuth, an OAuth server with a provider. I use Okta, and I spin a developer account for that. So something that is happening in many companies is that we have an OAuth provider. Maybe it's Okta over there. And the way that we are creating or connecting to these applications that are in the companies through a OAuth process, where basically checks who you are as an employee. It generates a token behind the scenes, and then it goes through an introspection endpoint which checks and says, oh, this token that this guy generated is valid, right? It's just the general OAuth process, and that's it, right? So we are going to move with that process. First of all, I'm going to explain how it's going to be implemented on the application. And then we have the managed Flex Gateway. So managed Flex Gateway, or the Flex Gateway, basically is a product that MuleSoft is providing to engineers and just people that is using and implementing MCPs, where we can secure our APIs, or onboard our APIs and MCPs behind this Flex Gateway. And what I'm going to show you is a managed Flex Gateway that I have pulled in my local environment, is running in a Docker container. And I'm going to explain how that looks, and so the steps that I need to follow up. And yeah, so let's see how that works. All right, I'm going to just move here. All right. Yeah, and MCP servers, again, as I mentioned, they are really powerful tools, and they expose a lot of skill sets, and we can do a lot with them. We can combine them, and whenever we are in an agent, we can just ask these questions, but they are exposed, right? And some of them might be exposed, and what is happening right now is many of these new MCPs are coming with a authentication process. Like, for example, you want to connect with a Jira MCP, they have this connect button where it's going to take you to an OAuth screen where you consent and authorize that, so you can retrieve your token, and that's it. And these tokens are, what, as far as I see, not refreshable. They are kind of existing just for a period of time. Then they get revoked or they get expired, and then you have to connect again. So the process is like that. So right now, but again, this might continue evolving. I know there's certain ways that we can create some assets or some kind of scripting way that we can just refresh those tokens and keep the conversation active, right? And yeah, so what I'm trying to say here is just like these MCPs at some point, if they're not behind a API gateway, that we don't have any kind of policy implemented there. There's no security, so everybody can just hit these tools, and maybe if there's no guardrails, then obviously there's something that is going to come out of those prompts that maybe has and contains sensitive information too. All right. Yeah, so two approaches that we are going to talk about today. It's first of all, the API gateway, or managed Flex Gateway in this case, as I mentioned. So this will require, obviously, just to have the managed Flex Gateway running in our local environment. We're going to have it connected in our Anypoint platform. We're going to be able to have our MCP registered in Exchange, as well as an API manager, where we are going to be able to implement these policies, basically, right? And we are going to use the client ID enforcement just to demonstrate how it works. And yeah, obviously we can improve and put more policies on top of that. And the second approach is going to be an application level authentication, which is the OAuth, which I already mentioned, and this is already connected to an Okta developer provider. We generated a application server credential plus a user credential. That's the one that we are going to use to authenticate, and that's it. And obviously, we have our MCP server running and deploy in any point platform. The managed Flex Gateway architecture, or how it works, is going to be just we have an AI agent. It can be a Cursor, it can be Claude, it can be a Copilot, or any other. And obviously, this guy is going to make the request. We're going to prompt something. We're going to send the request into our managed Flex Gateway. And basically, it's going to go to the all these policies that we are going to implement, right? Like client enforcement, maybe we have a rate limiting, maybe we have a message login, etc. And then we have our MCP and Mule 4. This MCP that I built, I want to talk about it a little bit more later on because I think it's kind of cool too. And yeah, so in the application itself, I have a little property there that I can just switch and flip and say, okay, let's use the authentication mode for OAuth, or let's use the authentication for Flex Gateway. So we can switch between both. In certain cases, and eventually, we should be able to have both in place. So you can have even an API policy implemented, but also you can implement the OAuth one too. And that's it. So so the demo is going to be pretty much like we already have the MCP deploy in Cloud Hub. We already have the API register. I'm going to show you whatever I already implemented, but also I want to try to explain what I did in order to make it happen, because I think that's the most important piece here. The policies, how they are implemented, and then we are going to do a little bit of playground with Cursor in this case. So we see how the calls are getting made from the agent into Cloud Hub and the API gateway. Similar thing with the OAuth architecture. So we have the agent Cursor, where basically we have a client ID, client secret, which are our credentials as users. And then we have our application, which is already mapped to an OAuth property, which is going to now do the token exchange and check introspection, making sure that those credentials are valid, and that's it. So we are caching the token for, I think, 24 hours, no, an hour, I think, something like that. And then obviously the life of that token is gone, and then we can refresh that as well. We are using the token and introspect endpoints, basically. And then client credentials pretty much is once we implement the Flex Gateway and we have the client ID enforcement policy, just as a regular other API, we are going to generate our own client credentials. But basically this is the introspection one. Sorry about that. So this is for introspection. So yeah, this is just the process. It's client that connect to from the agent to the MCP. There's a token exchange. We do introspection to verify it's a valid one. We cache the result, and yeah, session accepted, and we move on with the responses. And again, as I mentioned, in the MCP that I built is configuration driven. We have an authentication that is the mode, which basically is OAuth or Flex Gateway. I put it here none. I don't know why, but it should be Flex Gateway. And yeah. And the Okta developer setup takes just 5 minutes. This is pretty straightforward because that's what I did. You generate a developer account, you just set up your credentials there, the endpoints, and kind of an application, just as regular as any other website where you need to have a client credential or API application. That's similar steps. And this works because for POCs, I think is great. Just almost everybody uses maybe Okta or similar to Okta. So it's a similar thing. And in the very end, just a little comparison between the gateway and the OAuth. In this case, the authentication Flex Gateway is going to be using a client ID, client secret, because the client ID enforcement, and the OAuth one is going to use OAuth tokens. We can implement rate limiting with the Flex Gateway because we have the API gateway installed in the policies, while in OAuth we can't, right? There's no API gateway that can kind of catch those requests initially. We have audit trail, just the message logins in the application. Yeah, it's configuration only, let's say. And we have a client ID per person same thing as well. It will be an application per user as well that gets you a client ID, client secret as well. For deployment, for the Flex Gateway, obviously we have right now I'm just running this into a container in my local environment, but eventually you have a managed Flex Gateway. You need to have one deploy in your own infrastructure, which will be a server. Maybe you have a Linux, maybe you have maybe a Docker container as well in a server. And the OAuth one is standalone. It's already deployed through the application. It is connected to the infrastructure of Okta in this case. All right. Yeah, here is just a little bit of a graphic that says kind of the encryption, just the transport that we have. We're using HTTPS. That's how the managed Flex Gateway is spinning in my local. Then we're going to call, the Flex Gateway is going to call, sorry, the agent is going to call the managed Flex Gateway, is going to use the HTTP protocol. And that's it, right? So the only difference here is instead of calling a server with a domain, I'm calling my local host because again, I'm running it in the Docker container. But I'm going to explain that during the process as well. And yeah, just few takeaways is the MCP servers need security from day one. Yes, we need to have them secure and behind some API gateway or having some sort of security. The configuration driven is just for if you have a specific requirements on your company, you can switch and flip those from your MCPs. The Flex Gateway gives you that policy enforcement, and obviously more than that, you can obviously just have some guardrails as well. OAuth obviously is just if it's an Okta, if it's any other, it gives identity to for users, so you can connect that to a specific user, maybe an LDAP or some sort of system that contains employee information, and it's just good practice. I'll say for production environments, obviously, and even sandbox environments, you need to have the security yes or yes. All right. Yeah, and some at the very end, some resources is I have wrote a Medium blog and in the another integration blog where I'm explaining how to secure this. It has the step by step. I tried to put everything there, the gotchas to just to know for the TLS and secrets, basically that you need to configure in any point platform. And yeah, so in the end is Okta developer for if you want to POC this on a developer environment. Your MuleSoft, the MuleSoft that I have is a personal trial. The MCP is built by myself, but is using some of the MuleSoft APIs as well. So yeah, I'm gonna explain on that too. And yeah, until here, I want to stop and see if there's any questions.
That's a very good time to do that. If anybody has any, drop them in. I'm following along and I don't have any myself so far. Looking good, making sense.
All right.
Everybody's saying clear and none so far. Awesome. All right, carry on. I'm excited to see this in action.
Yeah, let's see. Hopefully nothing breaks.
Yeah, hey, if it does, that's just real life. Don't worry about it. No worries, man. No worries. All right, go ahead.
So, all right. So I'm going to show you here now. It's my Anypoint platform. And also, I want to show you this little because that's where I have my managed Flex Gateway. Just one second. All right. So once we are in Anypoint platform, if we want to spin up a new Flex Gateway or managed Flex Gateway, we have this option. Flex Gateways, we go in the self-managed ones. And then if we want to add a new one, we have a set of instructions. So it's really intuitive. It's going to tell you step by step what to do. And that's exactly what I did for mine. So once you execute these commands and everything, it's gonna the only thing that you need to do is kind of run this now, and because it already creates a configuration, right? So if I click and start this one, and if I go back, I can see my demo gateway here. It'll take a few seconds, and it's gonna put it as in green. Just a second here. Just refresh. There you go. So now it's running, and we have this again. It's running in Docker, but because it's running on kind of in real time, you'll see any single log that happens. If there's a change on the configurations, on the policies, or something, we'll see it on this console. So that's the first step, right? So we're gonna have the Flex Gateway or managed Flex Gateway running in our local environment, which means now we should be able to do kind of the deployment of our MCP. Now, for the MCP, let me open Exchange over here. There's something important to mention. Once we have the MCP created, that comes along with a JSON schema configuration, which basically is going to list the tools and kind of metadata of your MCP, which is going to be important for this step. So let me show you. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to show you my MCP. So this is my Anypoint Studio because I still use Anypoint Studio. I haven't made the jump to ACV fully, but first, what is the
here? I'm still on it too. So some of this is it's getting a little bit blurry. I wonder if it could be like if you could zoom your screen up just a little bit, just a tad, especially once we start seeing these flows. There we go. That's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, that right there. Thank you. I appreciate that. It wasn't just my side. I was getting some feedback in the chat too, and I appreciate that from the chat. So that way it wasn't, because I was thinking it may just be me. All right, cool. Carry on. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Yeah, so let me see where I have my. Okay, I have the different tools here, but let me explain what is this MCP for. So this MCP is a thinking about how many times you guys are tracing logs through your applications and how hard it is to just jump into the platform, click into every single application, open a bunch of screens, and then just trying to figure based on a correlation ID what happened, right? So the idea of this MCP is for people that owns this and uses and have the Titanium subscription, they have an entitlement of more retention, right? I think it's 90 days retention on monitoring plus more storage as well. So you can go back in time and check those logs. In a regular application, we have just 30 days, and I think it's just 100 megabytes login. So it's kind of hard. So the idea of this MCP was to make sure that we can trace a transaction whenever connected to multiple domains applications. And what I mean by that is whenever you are working in a project, because we have this API-led connectivity, we want to connect different boundaries or sections for those projects. Let's say if I'm working on an order project, basically that contains maybe 3 APIs and 2 batches, right? And maybe whenever I'm doing some work, those correlation IDs get shared across the board. And even though it's a synchronous or asynchronous process, then you have a correlation ID that you can ask for, right? So you want to know what happened with a specific transaction, where it failed, or what happened. So this MCP does that. Initially, it has couple things here that are interesting. One of them is if you have a Titanium subscription, it's gonna go and it's gonna use the Kibana endpoints that we have in monitoring. So it's gonna pull the data from monitoring. It's gonna have to check across all the time. And you have a domain, and so you can define domains on this MCP too. Like I want to define a domain for my project called orders, and you can tell with the agent to the LLM which applications you want to include into that domain. So imagine that you have 2,000 applications deployed. It only will, for that domain that maybe has only 3 applications, it will search only in those 3. So it's kind of the idea of this MCP. I'm going to share more about this MCP later on, but I think it's just the idea of this one, right? So, and again, so one of the things that I did for the MCP, first thing is I got it deployed in my application. So I got the managed Flex Gateway there first, and then I deploy my MCP in Cloud Hub. And something important here on the properties, as you can see, there's some client IDs that are just dummy ones, but here in the Mule environment, based on the environment, I'm just switching this between Flex Gateway configuration, and I'm gonna flip it at some point just to use OAuth 1. All right. So this is the first step. So you have the application up and running. Obviously, you have to register in Exchange. That's what this is the other thing. You need a schema configuration file. So you have something like this one, I believe this MCP server schema, where basically you are putting all the metadata here with all the tools and all the information, because this is going to be asked for you whenever you want to deploy this in Exchange. So let's already deploy here, but this is just right. Like we want to publish a new asset. We're going to put like a name. I'm going to just put demo here. The asset type is going to be an MCP. We want to deploy an MCP server. We are gonna upload the tool. So basically here, I'm gonna just give this guy here, and I'm gonna just select the schema. The platform is gonna be MuleSoft, and it's gonna be the stable one. It's just like thinking about deploying an API. Obviously, there's some automation that should and happen and behind the scenes, so we can publish this into Exchange automatically and in a more organized way, let's say, just to keep track of everything. So we have a demo here. So I already have the other application connected, but this one got deployed. It knows already it's an MCP, and it's an asset that is available that already expose all the tools that we have, what they do, etc. Right? That's why the schema file. So that is the first step. Then we have our MCP. Now, second step is once we deploy the this guy here, now we can actually go into API Manager. And one of the actions that I already did is go here into these agent and tools instances, right? So whenever we want to deploy a new API, we'll go into API instances, we'll click and add, and obviously you can import it from Exchange or from a new API, etc. Right? But in here, I go into agents and tools instances. And as you can see, I already create mine for this demo, right? So you just click and add MCP server. It's gonna ask you what is the gateway that you want to use. In this case, is my managed Flex gateway. It's gonna ask you for the asset that you just deployed before, which is the MCP. In this case, is this one. It's gonna ask you the asset version, etc. I'm gonna just move to the one that I created, because after that selection is going to ask you for the upstream implementation URL, which basically is going to be the MuleSoft application where it's just served. And it's going to just trying to connect it to the API gateway, and it's going to connect the whole thing. So it's going to say it's already connected. As you can see here, it's an active state. It's connected to the MCP log analyzer or the demo in this URL, which is my URL for this deployment. All right. And at this point, the application is already deployed and ready for get it secure. Now we can use it for behind the API gateway. So if I go into my terminal, nothing here. If I go into the policies, I have this client ID enforcement disable. But before that, before enabling the client ID enforcement, something to mention is before I did that or creating the recording API manager, in Exchange, I won't see the option to request access. So that's important. After we register the API, just as any other, we'll see this request access, so we can actually select our environment, our API, or a client credential application, and then request the access. So it's going to give you the client ID, client secret. All right. And that is going to be the important one, because once we enable the client ID enforcement policy, is going to is going to use those variables. So as you see here, I enable the policy, and now yes, it should, yeah, there you go. So it should come the changes on the managed Flex gateway. So we know at this point that the policy got implemented. So now it should pick the changes. So now whenever I need to connect my cursor to this MCP, it should ask me for credentials. All right. Now let's move on pretty quick to cursor. So this is my cursor. And this is the other thing. So if you work with cursor, or you have cloud code, or you have Copilot, or it's basically VS Code, you can include any MCP. The connection is similar, some syntax changes, but basically is the same, right? So what we do is in tools and MCPs, I have these two records already created. I'm going to show you. The first one is for the OAuth that we are going to test in a little bit. And this one is my, this is the one that I have for my managed Flex Gateway. All right. And the Flex Gateway, as you can see here, already have my client credentials that I already generated before for this client ID enforcement. And how do I know it's working is if I go back and I just open a new chat. But first of all, if you see here, I'm going to just disable everything. So it's secure demo flex. I'm going to just enable it, and it's in green. So it means I'm connected right away. It lists all the tools that I have, which is good sign. And then I can just probably just make a quick question here. And I mean, in the meantime, while I put this, if there's any question, are you?
There is, yes, thank you. I just wanted to catch you while you were kind of in this area. So Babukar is in the chat and he's asking, do we need to use the auto discovery like instance ID or what append? And if you want to him in the chat and work on that question a little bit better, but it sounds like you got it.
Yeah, so we don't need an auto discovery here. There's no an API ID that we use. It's just getting registered, because when we go into the process of creating the API record, it's gonna map it to the Flex Gateway. So in some way, once it maps the Flex Gateway to the API manager record, it gets active right away. There's no a number or API ID that we use. Yeah, let me just go back here. All right. Sweet. Okay. Okay. Let me just stop this one. Sorry, it's not right. Okay. Oh, right here. Okay. Let me do it again. So I think I need to be more specific with this request. So I just asked him, like, if already knew, like, they mean applications that are deployed, but I need to be a little bit specific just to say use the MCP, right? And for that, I'm gonna just check the name one more time. Is the demo flex? All right. Yeah. So I'm gonna say, tell me the applications that we had deployed. So, and I'll say use the flex demo MCP. Sorry. So, and again, it seems like a tool is connected. We'll see. Yeah, I have the policy actually disabled, so you should actually register on from my Flex Gateway, but it's not. So that's okay. We can come back. In the meantime, I'm gonna move on and just switch flip the switch to use the OAuth server. Let's see if that is letting us do things. So for now, I'm going just to, I think the policy is already disabled. Yeah, that's fine. So now in my application, on my properties, I'm going to just put here OAuth. Let me apply changes. So I'm just going to restart the application. Once it's deployed, we should be able to use the direct connection here. So as you see, for the managed Flex Gateway, we are using localhost because it's served on the local environment. And for the secure one, we are going to use this one that contains the client ID, client credentials from the Okta introspection. So we can see if that works, right? But yeah, in the end, just same idea. Whenever the LLM is up and running, the MCP is up and running, we should be able to just ask the question and retrieve some environment and logs. So that's the first step. And what I want to demonstrate is whenever we change, or when I change the credential from the OAuth, that at least is going to give us some error of our authentication error that says it's not possible to make the request. We're going to fix it and just get the response back. Right, this takes just probably a minute. All right. So it's deployed. All right, let's move again, and I'm going to disable the prior one. I'm going to just enable this MCP secure demo, which is already connected with the credentials. And let's just make the same request. Okay, can you use the tell me what you please and deploy? And let's say, okay, tell me what applications I have deployed use the MCP secure demo. MCP server. Let's see if this brings some information. And again, this one or this version is using the OAuth, or you should use the OAuth connection to with Okta. So let's see what it gives us. Let's click and run. So here it hits something, so it's good. All right, sweet. So now it's saying that we have 4 applications deployed, these ones, and that is working. So this is showing some data now. And again, the MCP contains our credentials. I'm gonna change those in a little bit. So, but before that, I wanna at least just pull some logs from this one. So let's give me that this latest 10 logs from. Oh, so we're on it. There you go. So at least there are like 10 logs. So, all right, MCP is working. So now next step is if I just edit the MCP, and let's say I change the client ID, maybe the client secret to something different, and I've closed this one right away. Once we save it, it's going to error out, and it's going to give us that there is a, well, in this case, invalid OAuth error, basically, right? So I don't know why it says 404. This is coming from the Okta introspection policy instead of MuleSoft. But as we can see here, the credential is not working, right? If I want to use the MCP, it's not going to work. If I roll back the credential once again, oh, I did something here. Yeah, just put like the original ones. And I close this guy, is coming back as green. And this is just because, yeah, it's kind of validating the credential from the beginning. Once we try to attempt the connection, it's going to either do success or failure. So, but yeah, that is how it works, at least from the OAuth perspective. And in the meantime, while I switch back to the Flex Gateway, because I want to see that again, it's any other question? Are you by any chance?
I'm not seeing any right now. Looking good. I had to go over and I started reading up on Cursor a little bit while we were waiting on that to deploy because I've never used Cursor. That's new to me. So that's really cool.
It's cool. Yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
it comes with a cost if we want, like, pay for it as regular individuals. As employee, I get a lot of all the models that we can use from OpenAI, Claude, and it's really powerful. So I think it's actually helping us. I mean, if it's a good combination of files. I mean, this is probably a nice topic to talk later on. It's like a whole is the AI workflow for developers at some point. And I know we have a lot of the MuleSoft vibes going on too. And Cursor is not a. I mean, there's a little comparison between both, but then each one has a specific expertise. Let's say MuleSoft Vibes is really for MuleSoft development. It knows a lot of the components and rules and stuff, but Cursor can understand those two at some point. If you make it and ask for the right information, give the right data and documentation, that should work as well. So
I like it. It's like anything. I was telling somebody the other day when I go to edit videos, I use 3, sometimes 4 different, software platforms just to edit a video. So it's like this right here. Now you have more tools in the toolbox. I like
yeah,
it. So I was kind of putting Cursor in the toolbox by learning about it and checking it out.
yeah, and something that happens is we assume because we use them that everybody already know these applications and the ways to use it. But it's good to share that. Just everybody is also aware. And if not, you just give it a try and see what is the value.
That's right. Yeah, I could see it as a time saver, or at least try it, like you said, see if it'll work for you.
Yeah. So and once you have it running, let's say this is just a silly demo, right? Like some logs here, but then you think about a application that has connection with 10 different systems, and you want to identify which one of them fail. You should be able to take one of these ones and say, give me the whole transaction across these nodes. It will trace a table and say, a specific time this fails because this action. So before it took us like an hour to identify where the issue happened, when now we can just see it in 10 minutes or less, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Just took
All right,
off a
let's
lot
see.
of time off of that project. And like Digital D is saying in the chat, Fury Tech is another tool. That's a great tool. I don't know if you got to play around with that, where it actually integrates right inside of Anypoint Studio.
Yeah, they have very nice plugins too, and I've been playing a little bit around with that. It's really nice. They have pretty good tech there too.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I'll try to give it a try again with the other Managed Flights Gateway. Let's see if that works. And it doesn't work. I don't know why. To be honest, here I'm getting stuck here. Anyone requirement just to take a look more. But let's see. Actually, just give me 1 second. I want to see if something comes on the logs. This is not up for running. It was working at the beginning. Probably I should have rushed that before. All right, it's not coming. It's gonna take me some time to troubleshoot that here, but yeah, definitely. Yeah, I see that we should come with a part 2. Definitely,
That's
I'm up
right.
for it. I'm up for it. Definitely. So
I'm glad you saw that. Yeah. So that's just usually what this means, is we just have a part 2 and we come in or you
right.
come in and just, take it from where we left off. And that's all real life. Don't,
Yep. Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely.
don't
No, and at least I'm glad the
worry.
first. Yeah, the first one worked. At least the Octa one with OAuth worked. Is good. And this is important because also Managed Flex Gateway, and this happened for me. Like whenever I ask the company for some server or some kind of virtual machine to install this, sometimes it's simple as weekend, or it's gonna take more time. So basically, this is another way to do it. And I did it with Okta, but then we can do our own OAuth provider in MuleSoft as well, and just get it connected. So it's kind of the similar thing. But yeah, I'm. It's unfortunate that it didn't work the second one, but I'm gonna do part 2 for sure.
That sounds great. In a few weeks, whenever is good for you. Yeah, I think the next opening is like in June now, so it's a ways out, but that's perfect. Yeah,
Absolutely.
these things are out of your control. Perfect. We
Sounds
learned
good.
something. I know I learned something. That's what we're all doing. I appreciate that. I'll go ahead and let anybody ask any questions. Anybody have any questions in the chat, or you can unmute and ask. And now's a great time. Got a lot of good feedback in the chat.
Thank you.
So let me know. I can take back over sharing if you're done sharing your screen. And we'll just let everybody ask. So got good feedback, looking good. And if I don't have any questions, like Digital Lee said, that's a sign of a good teacher, good instructor. So good to not have any questions. So yeah, awesome. Well, I'll go ahead and close this out with a little sneak peek to 2 weeks from now. We're actually going to take a break next week. And so there is an opening next week, but that's too soon. I wouldn't ask you to come back that soon, Edgar. We're taking a break next week because of some scheduling stuff. And then 2 weeks from now, just announcing to everybody, letting everybody know that on May 1st, Vincent Lowe will be here and he's going to announce the topic. Not on that day, I'll announce it that week. So he's working on a topic and we'll get something worked up and going on the 2 weeks from now. All right. So you all stay tuned and be in touch, pay attention. And again, Edgar, thank you so much for coming out today. Couldn't have done it without you because I don't know anything about all of that stuff that you just showed. And I've learned a lot more about MCP. That was the second study group that we've had on MCP. So still grasping some more information, just speaking from my brain. Thank you. I appreciate you coming out and showing what you showed today and presenting.
Thank you
Really
so much,
appreciate it.
and thank you for the invitation. I think it's great that this study group and really adds a lot of value to everyone. So I'll try to share it with as much people I can. Definitely.
Awesome. Yeah. Hey, that's what we're here for. I'm going to stop the recording so we can hang out, chat if anybody wants to. And we'll go from there. I always like saying that, so that way the people that watch the recording can try to make it to the live. But hey, I understand. Like I said, Suma, you get to feeling better. Little shout out to her not feeling well. All right.